The garden air is thick with the scent of expensive perfume and blooming night jasmine. Inside, the Zhao family celebration hums, a symphony of forced smiles and clinking glasses my sister arranged, supposedly in my honor. But here, hidden by the shadows of an ancient willow, the truth spills out. Poor spare daughter, still so naive. Mei Ling laughs, her voice light and cruel, carrying clearly to where I stand. Mother murmurs agreement. She actually believes we invited her because we missed her. The words land like stones, familiar and heavy. That old knife, betrayal, twists in my gut. But this time, the tears don't come. This is the third time I've lived this exact moment. My first life ended in ruin and public disgrace at 26. My second burned out in a blaze of vengeance that left nothing but ashes and emptiness. This third chance, this rebirth, it will be different. I force a small smile, my fingers finding the cool, familiar shape of the ancient jade pendant hidden beneath the cheap fabric of my dress. It's the one treasure, the one piece of grandmother they don't know survived. This time, surviving the Zhaos isn't enough. This time, I'll make them wish they'd never called me spare daughter. The receiving line feels like walking through a minefield I've already navigated twice. Zhao Meiling, my perfect older sister, pulls me into an embrace that feels like cool silk sliding over steel. Xiao Yue, you're finally back. We missed you terribly, she says, her voice dripping honey for the benefit of nearby guests. But her eyes, sharp and calculating, aren't looking at me. They're assessing the worn seams of my dress, the absence of expensive jewelry, cataloging my lack of worth. Later, at the sprawling dinner table laden with delicacies I haven't tasted in years, in this life anyway, she performs her classic move. A delicate stumble, a gasp, and a full glass of red wine cascades down the front of the only decent outfit I brought back from the countryside. "Oh, clumsy me!" she exclaims, dabbing uselessly at the stain with a linen napkin. "Don't worry, Xiao Yue, we'll find you something suitable." The suitable replacement is, predictably, a plain, ill-fitting tunic borrowed from one of the maids. Humiliation check. It's almost comforting in its predictability. Later, scrolling through my phone, a cheap model they insisted on providing, I see her perfectly curated social media feed. A smiling selfie of us captioned, "So happy to have my little sister home. #family reunion #, sisterly love." The comments below are a mix of fawning praise and pitying remarks, likely fueled by the whispers I know she's spreading. Hints about my supposed emotional instability, my difficulty adjusting after my time away. My hands tremble, not from the sting of hurt this time, but with a strange, cold anticipation. I know her playbook by heart now. Every move, every poisoned compliment, every subtle undermining, I see it all coming. Then there's Mother. During the formal welcome ceremony, a strained affair held in the main hall under the imposing portraits of Zhao ancestors, she presents me with a gift. A pearl hairpin. It's pretty enough, I suppose, but placed beside the elaborate diamond-studded comb gifted to Mei Ling just moments before, the comparison is stark, intentional, inferior, disposable, just like me in their eyes. I force myself to meet her gaze, offering a sincere, quiet thank you. Disappointment flickers across her perfectly composed features. She'd hoped for tears, a scene, something to gossip about with her society friends, proof of the difficult daughter's return. Her plan B comes later, over lukewarm tea in her private sitting room, the air thick with expensive potpourri and unspoken tensions. "Xiao Yue," she begins, her tone casual, as if discussing the weather. "Father and I were thinking, the old ancestral house in the mountains needs looking after. It might be good for you, quieter, less stressful. The same exile, the same place where the isolation and neglect chipped away at my spirit in my first life until there was nothing left." My throat tightens, but I just nod slowly. "That sounds peaceful, Mother." Her relief is palpable. She thinks she's won, banished the inconvenient spare daughter once again. She has no idea I'm already miles ahead. And Lin Wei, my sister's fiancé. The man who, in a past life, whispered promises of love to me before aligning himself firmly with the winning side, Mailings. He finds me on the wide marble balcony overlooking the city lights, the vast Zhao family holdings stretching out below like a kingdom. Xiao Yue, he murmurs, his voice a low, intimate caress I once foolishly believed. It's good to see you looking, well. His hand brushes mine, a casual touch meant to reignite old sparks, but his eyes, they drift past me, lingering on the glittering empire below. He speaks of old feelings, of what might have been, testing the waters. In my first life, I cried. In my second, I spat venom. This time, I offer a polite, distant smile. Thank you, Linwei. It's kind of you to say. Confusion furrows his handsome brow. He expected vulnerability, maybe even lingering affection. He doesn't understand this new, cool composure. The weight of knowing his every motive, every calculation, feels less like a burden now and more like armor. For the first time, knowledge feels like power. Even my supposed best friend plays her part. Jia Hua greets me with a tearful embrace at the entrance hall, clutching my hands tightly. Xiao Yue, we missed you so much. It hasn't been the same without you. Her performance is convincing, full of shared childhood memories and promises to catch up properly. Hours later, as the party winds down, Father's longtime assistant, Mr. Feng, approaches me discreetly. He carries a thick manila envelope. Miss Yue, he says formally, bowing slightly. Your father asked me to give you these. Some family documents that require your signature. My stomach clenches. It's the same setup. The same opaque legalese, designed to trick me into signing away my meager inheritance rights. Thumbing through the papers, pretending to read, I recognize the subtle flourishes in the drafted clauses. Jia Hua's distinctive handwriting, a habit from our university days studying law together. Tucked accidentally within the stack are recent financial statements for the family business. Red ink bleeds across the pages. They're struggling more than I realized. They need my signature, my implicit agreement to whatever desperate measures they're planning. I hand the envelope back to Mr. Feng. Thank you. I'll review these carefully. Jia Hua catches my eye across the room and gives me a small, encouraging smile. The betrayal stings, but it's a familiar ache, dulled by foresight. The final piece of the puzzle arrives midway through dinner. Uncle Chen, Father's younger brother, always the outlier, the one slightly removed from the core family drama. He's announced as a surprise guest, slipping into a vacant seat near the head of the table. His presence immediately shifts the room's energy. Unlike the others, whose manipulations feel blatant and almost clumsy now that I recognize them, Uncle Chen's calculating gaze is different. Sharper, more aware. He surveys the room, his eyes lingering briefly on Mailing's triumphant smile. Father's forced joviality. Mother's brittle elegance. And finally, on me. When our eyes meet across the clatter of silverware and polite conversation, a jolt goes through me. It's a fleeting look, quickly masked, but I sense something beyond simple observation. Does he suspect? Could he possibly know about the rebirths? His toast later feels strangely pointed. Raising his glass, he speaks not of family unity or Mailing's engagement, but of cherishing the past and the importance of rediscovering what was lost. His gaze flicks towards me again as he says it. My heart hammers against my ribs. Friend or enemy? Ally or another player in their twisted game? In this third life, Uncle Chen is the variable I can't yet predict. And that uncertainty is the only thing that truly frightens me. The first direct salvo comes 2 days later, over a tense breakfast of congee and silence. The air still feels thick from the party, heavy with unspoken resentments. Father clears his throat, placing his chopsticks down with deliberate finality. Xiao Yue, he begins, his tone leaving no room for argument. I need grandmother's journals, all of them. My heart gives a slight lurch, but I keep my expression placid, focusing on the patterns in the rice porridge. They contain sensitive family business information, he continues, avoiding my eyes. Historical context vital for current negotiations. Across the table, Mailing smirks behind her delicate porcelain teacup. She knows, just as I know, that those journals hold far more than just business records. They contain grandmother's personal thoughts, her coded entries, the first real clues to the lost family treasure legends whispered about for generations. The treasure they desperately need now, judging by those financial statements I saw. They think the journals are their lifeline. This is where, in my first life, I protested, argued, cried about sentimental value. In my second, I fought back with accusations and threats. This time, I appear passive, broken even. I lower my gaze, letting my shoulders slump slightly. Of course, father, I murmur, my voice soft, barely audible. Whatever helps the family. The flicker of triumph exchanged between mother and Mei-ling is instantaneous, blindingly obvious. They believe my spirit is already crushed, that the spare daughter has accepted her place. They think I've handed them the key. That night, the performance continues. I ensure the maid hears muffled sobs coming from my room. But behind the locked door, under the dim light of my cheap phone, I'm not crying. I'm carefully, meticulously photographing every single page of grandmother's leather-bound journals. The elegant script, the pressed flowers, the coded symbols, I'm only beginning to understand, capturing it all. The originals feel warm in my hands, a connection to the only family member who ever showed me genuine kindness. The next morning, instead of heading to the dreary room they assigned me, I slip out of the Zhao mansion unnoticed. My destination, the old, dusty office of Mr. Liang, the family lawyer grandmother trusted implicitly. The office smells of aged paper, sandalwood incense, and decades of secrets. Mr. Liang, ancient and wizened behind a mountain of files, looks surprised to see me alone. He remembers me as the timid, tearful girl trailing behind my parents. He's unprepared for the quiet determination in my voice now. Mr. Liang, I state clearly, placing a worn, notarized letter on his desk. My grandmother, Zhao Anmei, left specific instructions regarding her personal effects. His eyes widen slightly as he reads the familiar signature, the legal stamp still clear after all these years. The letter explicitly names me, Zhao Xiaoyue, as the sole custodian of her personal diaries and journals. The surprise on his face morphs into cautious respect as I speak with an authority I didn't possess in previous lives. Within an hour, the original journals are legally secured in a climate-controlled vault under a trust established according to grandmother's wishes, inaccessible to anyone but me. That afternoon, I return to the Zhao mansion and place a carefully prepared package on father's imposing mahogany desk in his study, exact, high-quality duplicates of the journals. Page for page, visually indistinguishable from the originals, but ultimately worthless. The public fallout is swift and spectacular. A week later, at a high-profile charity auction gala teeming with potential investors and the city's elite, father takes the stage. He speaks grandly of Zhao family history, of legacy, hinting at invaluable family historical documents that offer unique insights, subtly trying to bolster confidence and attract investment for his flailing company. He promises exclusive viewings to a few key players. But when the time comes backstage, under the expectant eyes of Mr. Wang, a notoriously sharp investor father desperately needs to impress, the truth unravels. Father proudly presents the journals, the duplicates. Mr. Wang, no fool, asks a pointed question about a specific coded entry grandmother was rumored to have made regarding early land acquisitions. Father fumbles, unable to locate it, unable to decipher anything beyond the surface script. The deception becomes painfully clear. The investor's polite smile freezes, then vanishes. The deal collapses right there, under the harsh glare of the backstage lights, the whispers spreading through the gala like wildfire. I watch from across the crowded room as father frantically tries to call me, his face pale, a sheen of cold sweat glistening on his brow. The sight sends a pleasant, cool shiver down my spine. Vindication, this time, is silent. The begging begins that very night. He corners me in the hallway outside my room, the smell of expensive whiskey sharp on his breath. His usual authoritative bluster is gone, replaced by a tremor of desperation in his voice. Xiao Yue, he grits out, his hands clenching and unclenching at his sides. Those journals, the originals, you must release them. The family depends on it. Our reputation. He trails off, unable to mask the raw panic. I meet his gaze directly, holding it steady. For the first time in any of my lives, I see genuine uncertainty, maybe even fear, flicker in his eyes. I let the silence stretch, savoring the shift in power. Then, I deliver my simple response, my voice calm and even. No, Father, I don't think I will. The silence that follows is profound, heavy. It tastes sweeter than any tea, more satisfying than any revenge I sought before. It tastes like the beginning. The second blow lands predictably through mailing. At a family dinner a few weeks later, ostensibly to discuss my future. But really just another stage for their machinations. She makes her grand announcement. Beaming, she extends her left hand, flashing a magnificent jade ring. Grandmother's engagement ring. The one promised to me in hushed tones by grandmother herself years ago. Promised in all 3 lives and snatched away each time. Lin Wei and I are officially engaged, Mailing declares, her voice ringing with triumph. She glances at me, a predatory glint in her eyes. Father thought the ring would be, well, wasted on you, Xiao Yue. Given your circumstances. She laughs, a light tinkling sound that grates on my nerves. Lin Wei, seated beside her, looks smug. Beneath the heavy damask tablecloth, my fingernails dig into my palms, drawing crescents of pain, grounding me. The familiar surge of grief and rage rises, but this time I channel it. I force my lips into a warm smile. Congratulations, Mailing Lin Wei. That's wonderful news. My voice doesn't waver. I even offer, I'd be happy to help with the engagement party planning if you need anything. Mother, seated opposite, lets out a tiny, almost imperceptible sigh of disappointment. She wanted a scene, more evidence of my instability. My calm acceptance throws them off balance. Seizing the opening, I add casually, speaking of family things, perhaps this is a good time for me to go up to the ancestral home. I could retrieve the ceremonial tea set and grandmother's wedding silks for the engagement rites. Make sure they're aired out and ready. This is it, the exile they planned, now framed as my helpful suggestion. Father readily agrees, eager to have me out of sight, out of mind, especially now that I hold the power of the journals. An excellent idea, Xiao Yue, he says, relief flooding his features. I take all the time you need. The ancestral home is exactly as I remember it from my first life's banishment, perched precariously on a mountainside, weathered and forgotten. The roof leaks in rhythmic drips, staining the plastered walls. Wind howls through broken window panes, carrying the scent of damp earth and decay. It's a place designed to break the spirit. But this time, I haven't come unprepared. Before leaving the city, I spent hours in the municipal archives. Grandmother's journals, even the duplicates, mentioned her quiet efforts to preserve the building's unique architectural features dating back centuries, overlooked by the family and their focus on modern wealth. Armed with this knowledge and photographs from the journals, I contacted the Regional Historical Preservation Society. I didn't plead. I presented facts, evidence of the home's significance, subtly positioning myself as the sole family member interested in its heritage. My timing, coinciding with a new government initiative for cultural preservation, was perfect. Weeks later, as I'm sorting through dusty relics in the main hall, a government official arrives, not with eviction papers, but with news. A substantial grant has been approved for the restoration of the Zhao Ancestral Hall, citing its historical importance. Work begins almost immediately. As skilled artisans carefully peel back layers of damaged plaster near the hearth, a spot grandmother described in a coded journal entry, they uncover a hidden compartment. Inside, nestled amongst yellowed silk, are not jewels or gold, but something far more valuable: old property deeds. Deeds meticulously preserved, showing that nearly half the Zhao family's current landholdings, the very foundation of their wealth, were originally purchased with funds belonging solely to grandmother's maternal line funds, legally entailed to pass directly to me. The public fallout this time targets Mailing's perfectly constructed narrative. She and Lin Wei, along with a flock of photographers and stylists, arrive at the ancestral home for their engagement photo shoot. They envisioned romantic shots amidst quaint, atmospheric ruins. What they find instead is a bustling construction site. Scaffolding covers the facade. workers are carefully restoring intricate wood carvings. Officials from the Historical Preservation Society are on site, overseeing the progress. And there I am, discussing blueprints with the lead architect, dressed simply but looking entirely in charge. The photographers, smelling a better story, turn their lenses towards the unexpected restoration, capturing the officials praising my dedication to preserving vital cultural heritage. Mailing's posed smiles falter. The gaudy jade ring on her finger suddenly looks cheap and out of place against the backdrop of authentic history being painstakingly brought back to life. Her romantic ruin narrative collapses into a PR nightmare, live-streamed by a society blogger who tagged along. The crisis deepens back in the city. The company's shares, already shaky after the journal fiasco, take another hit as rumors spread about instability and hidden historical claims. Father summons me urgently to his office. The desperation is no longer just a scent. It's a palpable aura clinging to him, stronger than his expensive cologne. Xiao Yue, he says, his voice low and strained, trying to maintain a semblance of authority. The company. We're facing a liquidity crisis. We need collateral. We have to sell the ancestral property. It's remote. Largely worthless land anyway, but it's something. He avoids my eyes, shuffling papers on his desk. I let the silence hang for a moment before replying calmly. That might be difficult, Father. He looks up sharply. What do you mean, difficult? I meet his gaze. I mean, the property isn't yours to sell. According to these deeds, I slide copies across the polished desk. It appears grandmother's portion, including the house and surrounding lands, belongs to me. The blood drains from his face, leaving it a sickly gray. He stares at the deeds, then at me, comprehension dawning in his eyes like a slow-motion horror film. For the first time in 3 lifetimes, the proud, commanding Zhao patriarch looks utterly defeated. And then, he says the word I never thought I'd hear from him, directed at me. Please, he whispers, the sound barely audible. Xiao Yue, please. The third wrong feels almost petty after the blows I've already landed, yet it cuts with the familiar sting of deliberate exclusion. It's my birthday, or rather, it would have been, according to the date. But the Zhao family calendar seems to have conveniently skipped it. I discover the celebration not through an invitation, but through Mailing's relentlessly cheerful social media feed. Photos flood my screen. A lavish party at a trendy rooftop bar, champagne flowing, everyone dressed in designer clothes. Father, mother, Mailing, Lin Wei, Jia Hua. The whole cast is there, celebrating something. Then I see it, a close-up of Mailing, beaming, as Lin Wei fastens a delicate sapphire necklace around her neck. It's identical to the one he gave me in my first life, whispering that it was unique, crafted just for me, a symbol of our secret understanding. The sharp, specific pain of that memory pierces through my newfound composure. But this time, the pain doesn't paralyze me. It ignites a cold, steady flame. This is their final dismissive gesture, erasing me completely. Fine. Let them. My response is measured, precise. I send an obscenely expensive, thoughtfully chosen antique calligraphy set to the main house, addressed to Father with a simple, gracious note, wishing the family well and apologizing for my absence due to pressing matters at the ancestral home restoration. Let them wonder. Days later, Mother extends a half-hearted dinner invitation. Just a quiet family meal, Xiao Yue. We've missed you. The meal is awkward, strained. They studiously avoid any mention of the party. The air is thick with things unsaid. Then, over dessert, a bland almond pudding. Jia Hua performs her designated role. With feigned reluctance, dropping her voice conspiratorially, she accidentally let slip the real reason for the celebration I wasn't invited to. Father is planning to announce Mailing as the sole heir and successor to Zhao Corporation next month, she reveals, glancing at Mother for confirmation. They wanted to celebrate privately first. The final piece of their plan, disinheritance, locking me out completely, legally severing my last tie. This time, I don't wait for the public announcement. I initiate the final countermove. I arrange a meeting not with lawyers, but with Uncle Chen. We meet in a quiet, traditional tea house tucked away in an old alley, the air fragrant with jasmine and unspoken secrets. I let him choose the tea, observe the ritual. Then, I lay my cards on the table. Uncle Chen, I begin softly. I've been studying grandmother's journals. His expression remains carefully neutral, but I see a flicker of tension in his eyes. I know who you are, truly. I slide a specific photograph across the low table, a faded picture of grandmother, young and vibrant, standing beside a man who is unmistakably a younger version of Uncle Chen. Then, I produce a folded, brittle letter, also from the journals. Grandmother's elegant script, acknowledging him, her illegitimate son, born from a wartime love affair she kept hidden her entire life. Information she coded carefully. Information the family desperately wanted the journals for, believing it held keys to wealth, never suspecting it held the key to their undoing. His carefully constructed composure finally cracks. His hands tremble slightly as he reaches for the letter. His secret, his identity, protected for decades, now rests in my hands. Grandmother made provisions. I continue gently but firmly. She foresaw possibilities. I outline the contingency clause hidden deep within her meticulously crafted will, a clause known only to her trusted lawyer, Mr. Liang, and now to us. It states that if any rightful heir, a term deliberately broad enough to include him, her unacknowledged son, and me, her named custodian, is unjustly disinherited or excluded from their legacy, control of the entire Zhao Corporation and its primary assets automatically transfers to a pre-established blind trust. A trust requiring two signatories to activate and oversee, him and me. His eyes meet mine, filled with a storm of emotions. Shock, grief, understanding, and perhaps a glimmer of alliance. Together, we make the call to Mr. Liang. The mechanism, dormant for decades, springs into life. The heir announcement ceremony is designed to be the Zhao family's triumphant comeback. Held in the grand ballroom of the city's most prestigious hotel, it's packed with investors, society figures, and media. Crystal glasses sparkle, polished silverware gleams, and a string quartet plays softly. Father stands at the podium, beaming, ready to cement Mei Ling's position and restore the family's image. He clears his throat, begins his speech about legacy, tradition, and the bright future under Mei Ling's leadership. And that's when they arrive. Not dramatically, but with quiet, irrefutable authority. Two impeccably dressed legal representatives, flanked by uniformed court officers, step forward. They present Father with official court orders, stamped and sealed. A collective gasp ripples through the ballroom as the announcement is made. Effective immediately, control of Zhao Corporation is transferred to the An Mei Heritage Trust, pending investigation into irregularities and potential breaches of fiduciary duty by current management. The family learns, along with the rest of the stunned audience, that the business they thought they controlled has actually been under the trust's authority, activated by me and Uncle Chen, for weeks. At the ballroom doors, new security guards professionals I hired privately quietly take their positions, replacing the family's usual detail. Checkmate. The fallout is immediate and absolute. The begging becomes a deluge. Mother calls my phone hourly, her voice cycling through tearful pleas, shrill accusations, and desperate bargaining. Mei Ling appears at the heavily secured entrance of the restored ancestral home. I refuse to see her at my city apartment. Her perfect makeup streaked with real tears, demanding to know how I could betray my own family. Lin Wei, ever the opportunist, bombards my assistant with emails containing revised business proposals, partnership offers that barely conceal his desperation to latch onto the new power center. Jia Hua sends long, rambling messages, alternating between apologies and justifications. I let the calls go to voicemail. The text messages pile up, unread. I sit in the quiet tranquility of my apartment, sipping freshly brewed Longjing tea, the aroma filling the air. The immense weight I've carried, the suffocating burden of 3 lifetimes of betrayal and pain, finally, slowly, begins to lift. With the immediate crisis managed and the Zhao family neutralized, I finally have the space, the quiet, to delve deeper into grandmother An Mei's journals. Not just the business entries or the coded family secrets, but the sections written in a complex cipher I'd previously lacked the key to understand. The key, it turned out, wasn't hidden in some obscure reference, but in the patterns of the jade pendant I always wore. Its carvings formed a unique cipher matrix. As I painstakingly translate the elegant script page by page, a completely different picture of my grandmother emerges. The demure, traditional family matriarch they remembered, the one they tried to mold me after, was a carefully constructed facade. The real Zhao Anmei was a force of nature. During the tumultuous years of the revolution, she wasn't just managing household accounts. She was a covert operative, a key figure in a resistance network, sheltering political refugees, smuggling intellectuals out of the city, risking everything for a cause she believed in. The Zhao fortune wasn't built on shrewd merchant trades, as family lore claimed. It was seeded with funds entrusted to her by grateful families she saved, funds she later invested wisely, always with an eye towards ethical growth, not ruthless expansion. The ancestral home wasn't a place of quiet retirement, or later, a place to banish inconvenient granddaughters. It was her clandestine headquarters, a hub for secret meetings and hidden passages. Reading her words, her courage, her quiet defiance fills me with an awe that eclipses any lingering bitterness towards the family. And the jade pendant? The piece I've clutched like a talisman through 3 lifetimes? It's more than just intricately carved nephrite. A hidden catch, revealed through the journal's diagrams, opens the pendant to reveal not a gem, but a minuscule, tightly wound scroll of microfilm. On it, account numbers, access codes, directives for international banks. Grandmother, deeply distrustful of her husband's avarice and her children's entitlement, especially father's, had systematically diverted the true bulk of the wealth generated from her activities and initial investments into secure, untouchable accounts overseas decades ago. The Zhao Corporation the family fought over was merely the respectable, visible tip of the iceberg. The reason they struggled financially wasn't just mismanagement. It was because grandmother had deliberately starved the beast she knew they would become, preserving the real legacy for someone worthy. The printouts from the Swiss bankers detailing assets untouched for generations spread across the antique desk in the restored ancestral home study. Columns of figures swim before my eyes. The sheer scale of it is dizzying. I'm not just financially secure, I'm one of the wealthiest women in the province, perhaps the country. My meeting with Uncle Chen confirms the rest. We sit in the restored tea pavilion overlooking the newly planted gardens, the scent of pine and damp earth in the air. He finally tells me the full truth. His connection to grandmother was deeper than just blood. He wasn't just her son. He was her protege in more ways than one. And he's a member of something I never conceived of, an ancient, hidden society composed of individuals who experience rebirth, souls who reincarnate with memories intact, often tasked with resolving karmic debts or protecting historical truths. An Mei knew, he says, his voice thick with emotion I haven't heard from him before. She sensed the potential in your soul line, even before your first life began. She suspected you might be one of us, one who would return. He explains the society, have been watching my lives unfold. My first life, ending in despair. My second, consumed by destructive vengeance. They were waiting, testing, hoping I would break the cycle. Few souls get 3 chances to truly right generational wrongs, Yao Yue. He murmurs, looking at me with a profound, almost weary understanding. An Mei believed you would be the one to finally use her legacy not for revenge, but for restoration. His role wasn't just to observe, it was to subtly test my resolve, my choices, across all 3 lives, reporting back to the society, waiting for me to evolve beyond the patterns of hurt and retaliation. The ancestral home yields one final, staggering secret. During the final stages of restoration, while reinforcing the foundation beneath the main hall hearth, the exact spot grandmother's coded journal described as the heart, the crew discovers it, a hidden entrance, not just a compartment, but a stone staircase leading down into darkness. Below lies a dry, climate-stable bunker, untouched for decades. It's not filled with gold, but with something far more explosive. Boxes upon boxes of documents. Letters, diaries, photographs, official-looking papers detailing the resistance network grandmother ran. Names, dates, locations. Evidence of collaborations, betrayals, and acts of heroism that could fundamentally reshape the accepted narrative of the region's revolutionary history. Within days, unmarked cars with government plates are winding up the mountain road. Discreet meetings take place. Historians speak in hushed, excited tones. My name, Zhao Xiaoyue, suddenly appears on agendas in closed-door sessions, discussing national heritage and historical reassessment. The first time I descend those stone stairs, the air tastes like dust, secrets, and the immense weight of destiny. The final power shift isn't boardroom maneuvering, it's a quiet, decisive action. Using a portion of the newly accessed funds, I established the Zhao Anmei Historical Foundation. Its mission? To preserve, study, and publicly share the discoveries from the ancestral home and grandmother's archives. I legally transfer ownership of the bunker, the documents, the house itself, and a significant endowment to the foundation, ensuring its independence and public benefit in perpetuity. I appoint myself as director. Overnight, my public profile transforms. I am no longer the disgraced spare daughter or the corporate raider who sees the family business. I am the custodian of a vital piece of national history, the granddaughter honoring a forgotten heroine. My social standing eclipses my family's faded, tarnished glory. When I enter rooms now, conversations pause. Even Mother, when our paths inevitably cross at tightly controlled public events, falls silent, her eyes filled with a complex mixture of resentment and grudging respect. This power feels different from the fleeting thrill of revenge. It's solid, rooted in purpose. It makes my skin hum with an energy, a potential I have never known before. The time comes, inevitably. I summon them. Not to the cold corporate offices or a neutral hotel, but here to the Zhao ancestral home. Fully restored, gleaming with polished wood, filled with priceless antiques that grandmother loved, sunlight streaming through historically accurate windows. It breathes history, resilience, and my undeniable control. They arrive together, a united front of desperation clad in their finest clothes. Father looks older, diminished, carrying a leather portfolio embossed with business proposals where my name features prominently as CEO. Mother clutches a box containing my favorite childhood dessert, sweet osmanthus jelly, a peace offering reeking of calculation. Mailing is subdued, her usual fire banked, the gaudy jade ring noticeably absent from her finger. Even Lin Wei tags along, hovering awkwardly, his charm offensive clearly rehearsed. The air in the formal reception hall is thick with the perfume of Mother's expensive French scent, almost but not quite, masking the sharper, sour fragrance of their fear. I receive them in the main tea room, overlooking the meticulously recreated traditional garden. Cherry blossoms are beginning to fall outside, painting the mossy stones pink. Beautiful, impermanent, like their power once was. I serve tea myself, using Grandmother Anmei's priceless ceremonial celadon cups, each one worth more than the paltry monthly allowance they used to grant me. We sit. The silence stretches, heavy and suffocating for them, peaceful for me. They wait, fidgeting, clearing their throats, expecting me to dictate terms, to gloat, perhaps to demand apologies. I simply watch the steam rise from my cup. Finally, Father breaks. Xiao Yue, he begins, his voice strained, attempting a paternal warmth that rings utterly false. We've had time to reflect. Mistakes were made, grievous mistakes. Mother nods eagerly, chiming in, "We always loved you, Xiao Yue. We just didn't know how to show it. We were worried about you." Her eyes, however, keep darting towards a rare porcelain vase on a nearby stand. Mei manages a watery, "I was jealous, Xiao Yue. So jealous of grandmother's affection for you. I acted terribly. I'm sorry." It might even be the first authentic tear I've ever seen her shed. Lin Wei steps forward, smoothly interjecting, "Xiao Yue, putting the past aside, think of the future. With your historical connections and my business acumen, a partnership, we could rebuild something even stronger." His proposal hangs in the air, smelling suspiciously like a desperate, last-ditch attempt at merging his fortunes with mine, perhaps even imagining a renewed romantic connection. They lay out their apologies, their excuses, their offers, one by one. Each word feels rehearsed, each sentiment wrapped in self-interest. I listen patiently, letting each of them speak their piece without interruption. I sip my tea. I look from father's anxious face to mother's pleading eyes, to Mei Ling's fragile remorse, to Lin Wei's calculating gaze. I take in the beauty of the room, the legacy grandmother built and protected, the piece I have finally carved out for myself across 3 lifetimes. When they finally fall silent, expectant, hopeful, I set my cup down gently. I meet each of their gazes in turn. And then, I speak the word that seals their fate in this life. No. The single syllable echoes in the serene room, absorbed by the ancient wood and silk hangings. It hangs there, simple, absolute. Your apologies, I continue, my voice quiet but firm, are noted, but they are not accepted. Father starts to sputter, to protest, years of entitlement rising to the surface. But Zhao Yue, the family? I raise one hand, palm out, halting him mid-sentence. The same gesture he used countless times to silence me. The shock on his face is palpable. This meeting, I state calmly, is concluded. I don't need to raise my voice. 2 discreet security personnel, loyal to the foundation, not the family, materialize silently from the adjoining hallway. They wait respectfully by the door. My family stares at me, then at the guards, the new reality crashing down on them. Defeated, they rise slowly, gathering their rejected offerings, the business plans, the dessert box. They file out, escorted politely but firmly from the house, from the legacy, from my life. I remain seated, watching through the large window as they pause, bewildered, outside the newly restored gates. Suddenly, outsiders looking in at a home that still bears their name, but holds none of their power. For the first time in 3 lifetimes, standing victorious doesn't bring a rush of triumph or the bitter tang of revenge. There is no elation, no lingering pain, just a profound, quiet sense of peaceful finality. The cycle is broken. Life finds a new rhythm, quieter and more purposeful than any I've known. The Zhao Anmei Historical Foundation flourishes, quickly gaining national recognition. Working alongside dedicated historians and archivists, people who value the truth above connections, brings a novel sense of collegiality and respect. My days are filled with translating grandmother's coded correspondence, overseeing artifact preservation, and planning educational outreach programs. I wake each morning in my apartment, not with the familiar dread that plagued my previous lives, but with sunlight streaming through the windows and a genuine sense of purpose. The heavy weight on my shoulders, carried for so long, has finally dissolved. Following the faint trails left in grandmother's journals, I begin to travel. Not to luxurious resorts or bustling cities, but to the places she mentioned, the locations where she hid refugees or met with contacts. Small coastal villages where the air tastes of salt and freedom, remote mountain temples where monks have maintained unbroken lines of meditation and quiet resistance for centuries. In each place, I leave anonymous donations in Grandmother Anmei's name, funding local schools or restoration projects, weaving a quiet map of her hidden generosity across the country, honoring her true legacy. The world begins to take notice, not of Zhao family gossip, but of the work the foundation is doing. Universities invite me to give guest lectures on historical preservation and the complexities of interpreting hidden histories. Publishers approach me, eager to commission a biography of Grandmother Anmei or even my own story. Uncle Chen formally introduces me into the Society of Rebirths. Meeting others who carry the weight and wisdom of multiple lifetimes is a revelation. For the first time, I have peers, friends, who understand the strange burden and unique perspective without explanation. They see me, all of me, across all my lives. News of my former family reaches me occasionally, filtered through lawyers or third-party reports. Father's health is declining rapidly, the stress and loss of status taking their toll. Mother's social circle has shrunk considerably. Invitations to elite events have dwindled. Mei Ling, stripped of her inheritance and social standing, is reportedly working an actual 9-to-5 job in middle management somewhere. Lin Wei's desperate business ventures continue to fail. I feel detached. Not cold, but distant. I ensure father receives anonymous, top tier medical care. I make quiet arrangements through intermediaries to ensure mother has enough funds to live comfortably, if not lavishly. I set up a small, anonymous trust that provides mailing with a basic safety net, ensuring she never truly starves. It's not forgiveness, it's not even obligation. It's the final step in breaking the cycle of cruelty and resentment that bound us all together for so long. Severing the ties cleanly requires ensuring their basic needs are met, preventing desperation from breeding new cycles of bitterness. It's closure, paid for anonymously. On the third anniversary of my rebirth, the day I overheard that conversation in the garden, I stand alone on the highest balcony of the ancestral home. Below, the cherry trees I had planted during the earliest days of the restoration are in full, glorious bloom. A gentle evening breeze carries their faint, sweet scent upward. The setting sun washes the mountainside, the ancient roof tiles, and the peaceful gardens in warm golden light. I reach up and unclasp the jade pendant from around my neck. For 3 lifetimes, it has been my anchor, my secret weapon, my connection to grandmother, my talisman against the Jiao darkness. I hold it up, letting the last rays of sunlight filter through the translucent green stone. It's still beautiful, but I realize with a deep sense of calm that I don't need its protection anymore. My shoulders relax, releasing a tension I didn't even know I was still holding. The future is uncertain, as all futures are, but for the first time, I allow myself to truly believe. This peace, this ending, it will last.